Jay, you ready?
I'm ready, man.
What is going on there? You, thug, master of darkness here? What's going on? You embracing the character?
Johnny, last time you said I was in a prison, so I'm Prison Jay.
Oh my goodness, dude. You spent one day with a ton of nerds and you come out feeling like the alpha nerd. Look at this. Oh, hold on. I'm going to have to type all the new followers to be careful when they subscribe to us now. We have a new character on board.
Ask me what the worst part about prison is.
What's the worst part
It's
about
the
prison?
Dementors. Flying around, sucking out people's souls. And it
Isn't
hoits!
Isn't that off Harry Potter?
Dude, nice shirt. I wasn't expecting to see a Harry Potter shirt. Wow.
Well, I loved Hogwarts Legacy.
Loved with an capital L.
Capital L. Because, nothing beat video games this year, so we thought.
I know, dude. I know, so we thought, except for there was a groundbreaking thing where when we were at FanX last week, we saw cosplay. I would say probably more than any other was from one anime genre outside of Star Wars. So Star Wars, okay, outside of Star Wars and superheroes.
Yeah,
I'm making a lot of concessions here, but
No,
those
no.
are broad topics.
I mean, anime's so big it has its own conventions, right? I mean, there's anime cons all over the place.
It's so true. It's so true, dude.
But when you do a big one, it's going to take third or fourth place, which is still act great. Oh, you took it off. All right, I guess this the Master of Death, Jay, is back.
I'll put it back on. Don't you worry. I also increased my lighting. I don't know if you guys can see. It looks like the angels are coming down because Johnny did make fun of my... So we're switching up our setup. It's going to look a lot better in the next few weeks. Obviously, Johnny and I have amazing camera quality right now compared to previous casts. We're up in our game, basically.
That's right, Knights. We loved all the new subscribers we got, all you new listeners, followers, Knights, as we like to call you officially. If you follow us and listen to us, you are our Knights. And we want to make it proper for you to watch us on YouTube.
Absolutely.
And listen to us still.
And listen to us too. And so the audio quality has also gone up for Spotify. Those listening in on Spotify. Because we do have voices
Apple.
for radio. Or excuse me, faces for radio.
So all over the place with Apple, Spotify, right? If you found us on one thing, there's this little thing called the internet. If you just Google us, you'll find us.
I know. I always love when people are like, "What do I type in?" I'm like, I don't know. Just Google us. It'll be like the first 12 links. Like our website's there. Whatever you want to search on, you'll find us.
And then we're getting a lot better at replying you guys on social media.
Yeah, it's gotten a little bit harder. A lot of these YouTube comments fly under the radar. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's fun to have people be like, "That's me. This is me." We've already talked about this, but
Well, I was going to say, the fun part is that you and me love to answer the same person just to confuse them.
I know. And it confuses us too. Like,
Yeah. We try to time it, but then we get so excited, or there's a topic we know more than the other, and two heads are better than one, right? Do you not remember The Office when there was two co-managers? It ran great.
Yeah, exactly. Every successful organization has two managers, so
Name a country with two presidents. All of them.
I was going to ask you, Johnny, what do you think? Okay, so kind of switching back to FanX, where all of our cosplayers were and where we've had so much success so far, would you agree with me in saying that what we're going to talk about today was probably the number one cosplay outside of Marvel and Star Wars?
Absolutely. And it's kind of mean, but if it's an easy cosplay, I'm guilty of it. I dressed as Logan, Wolverine, right? Tank top and jeans. If it's easy, you're going to do it. Why not, right? If it's comfortable, cons are not comfortable. Some of the amazing, if you just want to dress up to have fun, you're not, showing off or spending months and months for it. It's a super simple type of cosplay to do.
Yeah, it's a straw hat and a vest, and that's all you need. Everyone and a lot of people already have all that. So
yeah, or the one that we met, our cosplayer, Luffy, if you will. Since we'll spoil it, she just had a long red button-up shirt, and it worked.
Yeah, it totally did. Her big thing was that she had her sandals on. So for those who don't know what we're talking about right now, Johnny, what show are we talking about?
Talking about a show that's been around since before me and Jay were born. Just kidding. And we just got into it right now. One Piece.
us and everyone else, man. With the
Yeah.
Netflix. Well, you had already known about One Piece and watched the anime, though.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. The problem is, and it's been around since 1997. There's over 1,000 episodes on anime. It's hard. It's hard when there's so many shows like that. When you try to watch a show made in the 90s, it's different, right? Different animation, different style. Netflix just bought it, I think, last year or got the rights to it. So they condensed it a little bit. So there's like 400 episodes. Yay. But it's still, they're pretty. It's anime, so they're 8 minutes long. By the time there's the recap, the intro, and the outro, it's just 8 minutes of a new thing.
Well, what's crazy too is there's also manga, right? Like, so there's a bunch of comic books, Japanese comic books for it too. So, like, not only do you have like graphic novels, manga, so comic books, you also have this animated series that they've had like 10 different renditions of. Like you said, each had like 100 episodes, so it's like 1,000 episodes of content. And then now finally there's I think it's 10 episodes on Netflix of a live version of it. So the live version was what pulled me in, and I wasn't planning on watching it. My older brother, so here's a little aside for you. My older brother comes up to me, he's like, "Dude, have you heard of One Piece?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've tried watching it." Like, and he's like, "No, the live action one." I'm like, "Oh, I heard it was on Netflix, but I haven't watched any of it." He's like, "Dude, it is so good." And my older brother is like a closet nerd, so he's nerdy, but like he's not over the top nerdy. You know what I mean? So, it was fun to like have him be so passionate about something.
Yeah, and I almost lost my nerd card because I didn't even realize they're making that. And when I brought it up, they're like, "It's been in the works since 2017." I'm like, I barely realized it was around in 2017.
Yeah, exactly. I had the exact same thought. Like, what, I didn't know this was happening. Like, it just popped up on Netflix as trending, and I was like, I didn't like the animation is on. We tried watching the anime, like it's hard to watch. Not because it's bad, but because, like you said, like you have to think TV was different in the 90s. Like,
Yeah.
it's very commercial. Meaning, like when I say commercial, I mean it's geared for commercials, and the pacing is a lot different. Like, it's geared for people to pick up a story and not stream it. So like each episode has to have its own story. It's a lot more. It's hard to have an overarching like story all the time. Like, there are multi-season overarching stories, but a lot of time your one episode has to tell its own story as well, and so it ends up being very repetitive. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's the arc that they do per episode just takes so long. Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Yeah. So
anime
the
is known for
commitment.
their story arcs, right? Like that's what you know going in. Okay, it's gonna be about let's use My Hero, right? Okay, he has a new on My Hero Academia. Cool. There's a new villain. That's the arc for about 12 episodes, and you get that. Cool. Move on. One Piece had that too, but it was a lot different 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think, for my older brother, the thing that hooked him instantly was that Luffy is just such an optimistic character, which has been a fun trend, like, with Ted Lasso and these other characters who've kind of come out that are just hyper optimistic. It's been a trend I can get really behind. I don't know about you, but that's a big one for me. So that was what hooked me as well. When Luffy was just like smiling and, his boat is sinking, so he jumps in a barrel. Like,
And that's what's cool about my favorite anime trope is and this is why this one's a little different though, but the good anime tropes is when it's a magical place and the main protagonist is non-magical, but he's the most desired person, right? My Hero was it, Deku he didn't have any powers at first, and he's so far behind everybody, right? Black Clover, Asa, same thing. Sorry, Asa, same thing. He doesn't have everyone has magic, and his magic is never giving up. Like that I love that a lot. And Luffy's kind of the same concept, except he's just not a good. He wants to be a pirate, but he's not a good pirate. He has powers. He's just not a good pirate, and he can't swim. We'll get into it a little bit more, but it was a backwards trope that worked.
Yeah, you want a GB in it?
Let's GB in it. All right, anyone that's new, I hope all of you are new, or if you just forgot, or if you met us on the tracks or in the convention and you just started listening. Jay, what does good GBN mean?
GBN stands for the good,
the bad,
and the nerdy.
Knights, we did this a while ago because we do not stay on track when we talk. So this keeps us a little honed in. So we like to do a good part of a show, the bad part of the show, and then we get extra nerdy.
Yeah, the stuff that is just way too nerdy. So like a good example is like the ultimate nerdy would be probably Caplifting Mjolnir is like an ultimate nerdy, you know.
There's just a lot of background to it. And yes,
It's
they
it's past
correlate.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they correlate and they all work. And we love it when you guys tell us what you thought was nerdy, what you thought was bad, and what you thought were good. If you agree with us, disagree with us, and something we forgot, please comment below. As we talk, comment around and we'll fix it next time.
Yes. For me, good for sure to start it off has to be the casting. Like and the pinnacle of the casting to me was Zorro.
Oh. Oh, I was gonna go casting nerdy, but you got me too excited. Hands down, one of the best casting I've seen in a show. Where
Yes.
it's true to the anime, right? True to the fans' perspective, and surpassed it even.
Yeah. And I know he's Brazilian in the anime, right? Like, he's supposed to be
Yeah,
Brazilian and
Luffy's just not he's my bad. That's my one bad.
well, all right, we'll get to that later. Because Luffy's a good for me. Like, I thought he looked like the animation that the actor they got for it. Pretty not known actor. Like, I've never watched him before. And I thought he had a really great swagger and charisma, and he did make an uplifting character for me. Um, and then, so going back to Zorro, like I
Zorro,
loved,
dude.
so good. Like the slow drawl, pretty much all of it. Yeah.
I am obsessed with one person and one person only. Buggy.
Buggy was so good.
I'm just saying, it has DC villain vibes, right?
It totally does. And I'm gonna get my map.
Where Buggy is great because in the anime he's like a little older, a little bigger, and he can detach his body, right? Which is hard to do to make it look cool live action. Anime gets away with making something look silly, but the audience believes it 'cause it's animation. But to do a live action version of Buggy, I was worried about it. I didn't realize how he was just demented in a way, which makes it work. And that's the kind of villains I like, right? Not truly just someone evil, just someone just psychologically backwards.
Yeah, like you said, like he's not evil, and it's not he's got a goal, kind of like Luffy. He's an inverse of Luffy, where he's got a goal. He's just gonna do bad things to get there. You know, he's got the same goal in reality. He's just walking a different path. You know, a dark path, and so it was a ton of fun. Buggy was hilarious. Yeah. The laughter, the charisma. Yeah.
The thing I like a lot is the memes and the little shorts that are making from these, and people who are just enjoying the cast. One of them, they were just watching all the cast members and getting more and more into the show, and then they cut to Bucky and his Buggy on his throne, and then they cut to the person making the skit, and her face is full of the makeup because she's that into the character. I thought that was hilarious.
That's awesome. Yeah, I loved the kind of talking about Buggy because they did this for the first time, maybe the second time for him, because they may have done it with the bigger lady in the beginning. But when they pop open the wanted trailer in front of them, and each person grabs it or does different things.
Oh, that's right. I didn't pay attention. I like that.
Oh, yeah, that was cool. So that kind of leads into my next good, which is almost a nerdy, but it's very stylized.
Yeah, you usually push visual effects to the nerdy part, but it's visually stunning.
Yeah. For something that didn't have that big of a budget, it is extremely beautiful. Like diverse locations, really cool set pieces. Buggy's place is different from the Haunted Mansion, is different from Sharkville. Some of that could almost move into bad. Like some of these characters, what they're wearing, I'm like, they just picked that up at a DI or a Goodwill
Thrift store.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Did you ever notice that? Like some of the shirts, like someone would be wearing a shirt like this one, and I'm like, yeah, like
kind of like how the Big Bang Theory started and it was all Target shirts, and I'm like, you have a little bit of a budget. Come on, nerds aren't that poor.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
No, but they got away with it because it fit with the motif, right, of it being a little bit of a wasteland. For those who don't know, we kind of give a little bit of a synopsis before, but One Piece is about pirates who want to get one piece, right? One thing that makes them the king, or an imaginable wealth. So they go to these poor towns.
And there was a pirate king before, right, who was killed and executed, who had his massive hoard of treasure that they call One Piece, that they're all trying to get.
He gets caught and executed, and it motivates everyone else to become some become pirates and some to, get the treasure.
Yeah, and no one's really like. It's even like, does this treasure really exist? Right? Like a lot of people like are like, we think it's all a scam, which maybe it
could
is.
be.
Yeah. I was gonna ask. So before we move off, that was a really good synopsis, by the way, for someone who's just mildly interested and wants to get into it. That was a really good synopsis.
It gives you pirate themes if you like that, because we love fantasy. We love action, superheroes. It gives you enough of a pirate theme to switch it up from everything else that's on right now.
Well, what's weird is it's like the 1800s met the early 1960s almost, like at times. You know what I mean? Like there's electricity, there's like carnival stuff going on at times. Like there's some things where I'm like, the technology here doesn't always like make sense. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's pirate punk. Sure, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah, it's pirate punk, not to be confused with pop punk
or steampunk or any type of punk. Although if they played pop punk music, I'd love it even more.
Yeah, they did kind of have some fun music, but I that's neither good nor nerdy nor anything else.
That's just a side note, Knights.
Yeah, I want to hear one of your goods, Johnny.
I think that was a good one. Another. I want to save the characters. This is a lot harder than I want it to be. I will say the good is how Netflix was able to take it and not make it overdone. Like too much of a hype. It kind of happened with some of Amazon shows when they try to do like Wheel of Time and they try to do something out of their norm.
Yes.
So the good to me is how the cast and all the scenery all came together. Long story long, just to make it. Netflix did a really good job at incorporating a lot of listening to what the fan base liked, because you don't mess with this fan base. Like you think Star Wars is a fan base, not even anime. This is One Piece fan base. They don't mess around.
Yeah, and anime in general is notorious for having live adaptations that are absolute garbage. Look at things like Dragon Ball Z or.
Oh my goodness, I forget that exists, and then Hulu popped it up recently, and I'm like, they could not get that cast now.
No. There was another one that totally slipped my tongue, but that's okay. We'll move on.
Well, they tried like Street Fighter.
Thank you,
video
Street
games.
Fighter.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was actually semi-decent, but they've tried to do stuff like that where they were video games or mangas or just type of or.
But none have been successful. Like they could have had moderate charm, but none of them were considered a success. This is like revolutionary.
Oh, I mean, it got picked up right away. I know it's a streaming site, but the minute that dropped, they knew they were working on season 2 already.
And it cranked up to like a 8.9 on IMDb, which is a great score.
Yeah, I don't even know how that works on streaming sites, but I love the more of this, the better. I'm worried it's going to take like 2 years to drop all the time, kind of like a Witcher-esque type thing.
Yes, I am concerned about that too. And Netflix has a hard time. They'll have a great first season, and then things just kind of fall apart. Like, look at The Witcher. Great first season. Second season was pretty good, and then now, I don't know that I haven't talked to anyone who's...
It was just where they're going after this.
But even then, like, how many people have you talked to that loved it? You know what I mean? Like, it's not really the talk of the town. Like, it was good, but... No.
I think there's more to work with, because what they really did, Knights... I'll save it for nerdy. Never mind.
Okay. Let's get into bad, because I know we have a ton of nerdy. We always do.
My bad is Luffy. I'm just struggling with him a little bit. I do like that he's positive. It's just when your cast are all like 10s and you're like a 9.9, that's my bad. And bad doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna stop watching it or you don't like the character. It's just I had to pick a bad. So far that's been the bad. And then I have one more after that one. But Luffy's my bad. We'll just contrast with that with your good.
That's good, because I lift him up and you can bring him down a little bit. One bad I had, so there's like the main admiral. So we're going to get into a little bit of spoilers here, just mild spoilers, but I'm just going to vaguely say that the last episode was a little disappointing for the final conflict between Luffy and kind of the overarching Marine who's been chasing him. Like, it was just kind of like, it was another thing that you and I have had an issue with, where it just kind of ends with like a talk and everyone sort of shakes hands and goes their separate ways. Like, I just struggle with that, man. Like, it's like it keeps popping up in media, and I can't handle it. I'm trying to think of another good example. There was one we were recently laughing about where it just sort of ends, and people like, oh, okay, yeah, well, glad we talked this through. Oh,
dang, what was it?
I can't remember.
You're right, because it was like a 3-year conflict, and then All right, we're cool. Yeah, we're cool.
Oh, it was Mandalorian.
Oh, that's right.
With the Darksaber. They'd set up this huge build of tension between Bo-Katan and Mando on who's gonna get the Darksaber, and it just ends in a discussion, and they all shake hands and go their separate ways.
Well, if you think about it, Luffy is the Pirate King, so he's right. See, you just have to think about it. Every fight gets resolved if you think about it.
You remember that guy? Yeah, he beat me up. Which in turn, Bo-Katan beat him up. So
if you think about it,
we beat Alabama a couple years ago. So we're basically national championships,
for another 5 years. If you think about it.
If you consider it that way, yeah. No, there was another one too. It was the new Ant-Man. Just sort of ends in the same thing where you have this, overarching theme or character who's lasted for a while, and he's attacking someone, and she's like, just don't be a dick. And he's like, okay. And then he goes and he switches sides, and you're like, no, that's not. That's
not how it works.
No, that's not how the Force works. That's not how dialogue works. That's not how plot works. You don't just talk your way through these problems. You gotta have more to it than that.
You just don't sit around and hope to find your puppy. You get off your butt and you find your freaking dog.
Even if in the real world, yeah, exactly. Thank you, Johnny. Even if in the real world, talking canon conflicts in storytelling, no, that's not how it works. It's boring. I don't want that.
But I'll save. I have a good resolution for that on the nerdy for you. Don't you worry, Knights. I'll save Jay.
What other bads do you have?
And this was pointed out to me by my friend client, who's the biggest One Piece fan I know. She has my girl Brittany. She was at FanX. I said hello to her, but she left before you got there. She was able to. She's the one who pointed this out for me. She said that Knights for the Dead Air. The shark people, right? I always forget their name. The Fishman. If you watch them in the anime, dude, they're like you and me combined of being yoked. And in the live action, they're just puny. Because it's super hard, to find someone naturally that big. I get it. It's anime. But they could have given protein and creatine to some of the actors for a month before just to get a little more. Or just, it was the budget, I think, that restrained them.
Yeah, which is understandable. I had an issue with Arlo, who plays the main Fishman.
Yeah.
I really liked him in the beginning, but as the episodes dragged, he kept talking like this at the same pace for episode after episode, and I got so sick of it. It was like, dude, you are not menacing if you've done this for 6 episodes. It got frustrating.
Your nose is a saw. I get it.
Yeah, it was. So, like I said, I really liked it in the beginning, but it quickly turned into a bad for me because by the end he's threatening Luffy, and he's still talking like this, and he said the same thing 30 times. You're like, dude, this is starting to wear. So
yeah, as opposed to all the great villains they had, that one just needs a little tweaking.
Well, and I don't know that there's a lot of people you could blame for that. Maybe the script didn't have enough diversity for him to work with. Maybe the director wasn't asking him to do enough dynamic stuff. Maybe it was the actor. Maybe that was the only range you could do. It's so hard to pinpoint what it was, but it was noticeable for me.
Buggy was gonna be so cool, man.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Buggy should have been the overall arching one because he crushed it. Mm-hmm. And that was the comment I'd gotten from my brother too. Is I told him I started watching it, and he said, "Have you gotten to Buggy yet?" And I was like, "Not yet."
That's what I'm hoping to see next year at the cons that the 9 cons that we're gonna go nationwide. A cool Buggy artwork. That's something I think my wall needs.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, because we got a One Piece. We got a really dope One Piece boat. So more One Piece swag for sure.
I liked that Buggy had veins or some minor overlap with the Joker, but it did not feel like a copy and paste.
No,
he
not
felt
at all.
His own unique character.
I think what helped is that he was able to detach his body.
Yeah. Well, and even his personality was different. I don't know. And his delivery and all that. So it was fun to be I just love clowns who are like that. It's the same thing Pennywise is in the same boat. It would be fun to have an art piece that was Pennywise, Joker, and
oh man,
Buggy.
I have a terrifying wall that makes me never want to visit your studio.
Do you know who Bogard was on the show? It's okay if you don't because I just had to look it up. So Bogard, you have the main. I don't want to do a spoiler. You have the main Marine who's chasing Luffy, right?
Okay.
The one who has a big appetite. For those who've watched it, you know what I'm talking about. So he has like a main assistant who wears like a cool top hat. He looks like an old detective, and he puts like very lazily on his Marine outfit. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I loved that character, except for he didn't do anything. Like, I kept waiting for him to do something cool. I was like, he's in 8 episodes. I was really excited. He just stands there and looks cool. It was like Boba Fett, but worse. I don't know. So that was one of my bads. Is I really wanted him to pull out like a Thompson machine gun and
You can go pure 1920 thug on him.
Yeah, exactly. It was the Suggins gang, and shoot the wall or something. A Tommy gun. So that was one of my bads. I don't know. I'm kind of running out of bads now, though.
No, there wasn't a lot of bad. That was just my really 2 pet peeves, and that's not even pet peeves. And I know I'm the outlier on the Luffy thing, but I still like the character, and he was a great actor. So
he won me over even more in some of the interviews. Like they were like, "Do you like pecan pie?" And he's like,
"Oh,
my English." Have you seen this? He's like, "My English teachers never taught me what this is," and so they translate it to Spanish. And he goes, "Oh, whatever it is, de pecan." Or de pie, and he goes, trash. It was awesome.
I always like it when the cast seems to like each other.
Yeah, didn't they get along really well? Like, it's fun when they jive.
Like and you were right. Buggy was actually technically on... Zoro is a massive star in South Korea. So he's a big deal.
So there was a funny stat someone brought up about how She-Hulk made less money than Zoro, and I was like, you can't cherry pick like that, like, because that doesn't make any sense. Like, Odin made way more than Thor did, and there's a reason for it. Like, certain actors, when you have a project, you need to go out and find actors who legitimize it. So in Thor, for example, Chris Hemsworth was a no one, right?
Yeah.
And so they went out and they got Odin, who was played by Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, who has who's Hannibal Lecter, who's got this huge resume, because it legitimizes your project. You need to do that. And so even though Chris Hemsworth had, probably 50 days of shooting and Anthony Hopkins could have had 5, it doesn't matter. He's getting millions. Chris Hemsworth got like 200,000. It is not anything to do with age. It is not anything, like, there's none of that. You don't bring in those things and cherry pick like that, because it's all about stardom. Like, there's a reason why Zoro was paid so much. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And he's a bit... And Zoro just got better and better in the show, like how it should be. But
my gosh, what a beefcake! When he puts the sword in his mouth, I was like,
stunning, handsome man, just a handsome individual.
Yes.
I know our Henry Cavill love might dwindle a little once we see more of Zoro here in the future. The thing that does it, I was just throwing it out there for everybody.
You think he's green-haired kryptonite, but he's not.
He's not. But we'll like to let it pretend, Knights. But that's what I was saying, is that they're not all big actors. Buggy was on Marvel. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. towards the end, and that show was just garbage towards the end. So they're able enough to not have a big head. So they're all friends. So that's cool.
Zoro was the only one who I thought was, had a big pulling. And I think that was specific. They picked him to have the biggest draw, I think, out of all the actors I had thought. When I looked through the cast... there were a few that were familiar, but he was the biggest actor I could tell.
Oh yeah, and he's known in that demographic too. So it was smart and it worked great though.
Did you like Sanji? He's like the young blonde cook who can kick.
Yeah. Because in the anime he's obnoxious and annoying, so that worked great. So if it works for what you're supposed to be in the anime, it works for me.
I love that he would try and flirt so heavily, and it never worked out. What's funny though is as I'm watching it, I'm like, it would work out for him. Like, it's the classic. I mean, you're
great and all, but this guy is one dashing individual.
Yeah, well, it's just comical to me because it's like the old trope of these beautiful women who are playing like social outcasts and the I don't know the old high school movies. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the she's out of my league, all those not out of my league. I know what you're talking about, where she just has glasses on, but she's stunning, and then she removes the glasses and whoa, where have you been this whole time?
That was what it was for me with, and I get that there is some level of charisma or whatever, but Sanji, he's this beautiful blonde guy who can do, kicks and stuff, and I don't know, his muscles are bleeding out of his suit. I was like, well, I think he'd be a little bit better off. He's not that awkward. It was funny as all. It just reminded me of that, where women are for some reason repelled by him, but it makes no sense.
but they're not repelled by Zoro.
No, not at all. But he could care less.
Let's move on to some nerdy.
Yes, please.
Get nerdy. Get nerdy. I forgot about our nerdy. We've been going so long about so many things. Just kidding. Okay. Here's what I do love. Like we've said earlier, there's 10 million episodes to these. But what Netflix did, which was so smart, it was almost like it was an episode a season. So each episode was almost a season's worth. So they crammed in a lot of the story, condensed it, but gave you a full understanding of what was going on in that story arc. When did Luffy meet his mates? When did Luffy venture out to this bad guy? They condensed, so it kind of ruins it of, I don't need to watch the first 5 seasons of One Piece. We just watch the first season of the live action. And the answer is yes.
But with that same, they still remain true to the source material. They didn't betray the source material. Even though it's hyper condensed, it's refined, it's not, something new. They didn't turn silver to gold.
Right? Yeah, they kept it pure.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. They just refined it.
And the one thing they did, which I didn't notice too well, because I'm not a die hard, they were smart enough to realize how good Buggy was, so they put him in more than he was in the anime, which I thought was smart.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought Buggy could have been the overarching villain instead of Arlo. It could have been reversed. Who knows
where this is going to go, man? I mean, the other good nerdy part is the one who's in charge of this. I forget his name. The actual creator of One Piece.
I couldn't tell you, sorry.
Oh, man. Ichiro. There you go. He's the one who's in charge of all this. Like, he casted people. He did a lot of the main stuff. So it's his passion. So so he's not just like how Jay, I'm losing track here. Who's the author of Harry Potter?
J.K. Rowling.
Thank you. I don't know. I couldn't finish that. She had a lot of input in the movies, but it really was just kind of like an honorary title.
Yeah. Like,
she was there when they casted everyone, but she wasn't really. No, Ichiro for One Piece literally was. He's like, no, that's Luffy, that's Zoro, and we're gonna do this. So I thought that was you can feel it. That was super nerdy.
Yeah, and I like that the cast was diverse because when you have anime is specifically drawn to not so it's supposed to be like any race can relate more or less to anime characters because they don't have what do you call it? Like features that are specific to certain demographics. Mm-hmm. So it makes it fun when you can have Zoro be Japanese, or I think he's Korean. You said, sorry, excuse me. He's Korean. And then you can have, Luffy's Mexican. There was Shanks is clearly Caucasian. Like Buggy is Caucasian. Arlo is black.
Nami's really a blonde in real life, but she's a redhead on this. Like, but that's true though. It's not like someone's like, well, I was expecting them to be from this area. No, that's not how it works.
Usopp is black. And I thought he was pretty good. Very annoying. He drove me crazy, but he's supposed to. Like, I've seen clips of him in the animated version, and he's just like that. Like,
he's over the top. But like, again, as much as I said they condensed, like, it's not like you got 8 seasons in 8 episodes. You just sped it along. But you do love these characters more and more. So they did enough to make you care about them for the first season, and then they can really flesh out the growth, because it is anime. So they do something in anime called a time leap, where it's 1 season and then next episode they're 2 years later, right? And no one even blinks an eye. So that happens a lot in One Piece.
Yeah, ton of fun. I'm trying to think what other big nerdies I had. I really like Shanks. I like the idea of a pirate who's a good person, because too often pirates are stereotyped into like one, guy who just burns the buildings. And I was gonna say something else. Sorry, plunders.
You're thinking of pillagers.
Yeah, exactly. But that's I don't know. I kind of like that in this one. Like they've put a different filter on it. So you have different types of pirates. You have Buggy, who's like a clown pirate. You have others who are super ruthless. Shanks is like super nice and cool.
On the vein to that, because I love Shanks too, and I loved his crew. A really cool nerdy scene is like how he was able to defeat. I think it's when Luffy when Luffy idolizes him when he's a kid, and there's a little scuffle at a bar they hang out in, and Shanks like I'm not gonna fight you, puts it away. But then when you mess with Luffy, his friend, then Shanks turns into not a pirate, just a normal defender. That was a really cool scene to watch. His crew, who was super non-evasive, pacifist at one point, then when you push them, they destroyed this crew. Like, it wasn't even fair.
Oh, it was hilarious.
So the choreography, that fight scene was super nerdy to me, of how they choreographed it, how they were making it seem as realistic as you can for an anime. Like, they didn't have superpowers, they weren't running anywhere. They were just really good at their craft.
Yeah, it's amazing for the budget it had. It's amazing how good it looked. Like you mentioned earlier, Buggy separating. That looked really good.
His
and
CGI
believable.
pretty decent.
And then like Shanks, it was very it was like a bottle episode. In that little bar. Episode.
Bottle episode. It's a bottle episode.
But it still looked really good. The way they would do the camera movements. They would. The way they'd shoot it, it kept it made it so that you'd have these smaller set pieces. And it elevated them, to where it felt a lot bigger, and the stakes felt a lot higher. So that was a lot of fun. Like you said, even though it's just taking place in this smaller area, and it's not all CGI'd out of frame, but it still looks really believable, and the action choreography ties in flawlessly with it.
Yeah, because it's almost like, I almost hate to say it, but some of the towns, some of the boats, you can make it Tim Burton-esque, where they're just over the top. And you can kind of hide how small it is in a way that if the buildings are big, if the boat is just so big, like the mask and all that, the mast, all that other stuff, that it makes you overlap that it's just a tiny little set piece. So I like that a lot. They did that a lot too on Lemony Snicket's Series of Misfortunate Events that Netflix did. Same type of concept of, let's make this over the top, not have to throw a lot of money into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And I like the idea of like Tim Burton, because there's one episode that is very Tim Burton.
Right, yeah. The way they maneuver things and make it, I hate to say whimsical, but it's very whimsical looking, right? But it doesn't take you out of the story. It could be a real place in this area.
Yes, exactly. Like the mansion, the haunted mansion is what I called it. It's not really haunted, but that is very Tim Burton-esque, because that was the one I was thinking of. Even the food, that they have in the mansion, where it's very turquoisey or whatever. It totally reminded me of Tim Burton film. But the nice thing is, like you said, it didn't take me out. I didn't think, oh, that doesn't fit. You know what I mean? It was just, this is just part of the world kind of thing.
This is who we are.
It's just a little bit darker. Yeah.
One quick thing is, there's just no way around it, Knights. We didn't go over this, but there's this magic fruit. You eat this fruit and you get powers. So that's where Luffy, Buggy, that's how they were doing it. Luffy is able to stretch. That's not a spoiler. It's just how it is. It's hard to do that in CGI. It really is. Mr. Fantastic, right? It's hard to do. So I was pleased at how it didn't look so bad.
It looked good. And there were times where you're like, he should be stretching and he isn't. And it's like, that's probably a budget, but it's okay, because the times where he does stretch, it looks really good.
And maybe it's just him. You can spin it to, Luffy just didn't want to stretch that time. He's so nonchalant about anything.
Yes, it's really funny. Yeah, one of my favorite scenes is when they shoot a cannon at Luffy and he turns into a big, like...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why that cracked me up so bad, but it did. It was just kind of... It didn't look bad, but it was just kind of goofy. Like, the whole thing just... And it does it to where you still feel a sense of escapism. Like, it's that type of choreography where you stay in and you chuckle, but it doesn't pull you out of the show, which is nice.
Yeah. This isn't ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. It's kind of, you chuckle.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think if I have anything else I wanted to... I mean, other than I really want to see Zoro get some more swords. Like, that's a big thing for me. I'm, like, ready to see more of that.
That's part of my original thing, is that there's so much to still tell in this story, right? Zoro's character arc hasn't even really gone through, if you think about it. He doesn't really build, because every time I try to watch One Piece, every One Piece fan just goes, make it to season 6, barrel through it, make it to 3 and you'll like it, make it to 6 and you'll just worship Zoro. So hopefully in the next season...
I don't know if it's possible to worship him more.
I know, just imagine how much better he becomes. How much of a, if you don't mind me saying, a BA he is.
A bad butt.
A bad bunny. That he is. And we hope it does, it keeps this trend, because everyone involved is excited. Netflix gets such they get going and they love it. Turns into like Stranger Things. We're gonna market it, and then they get to 4 and everyone gets too big for themselves and they end it. So,
but this is nice because it feels like a story that should have more than one season. Stranger Things, my big complaint was always it was a story that felt like it should have one season. Like that was always my big complaint was it always felt like a cash grab to make more. You know what I mean? Like
it could be a movie and done, a one and done movie.
Yeah, it felt like an enclosed story. But One Piece doesn't feel like that.
Well, there's so much source material. There's even movies on One Piece which aren't canon, which I don't know how they're able to make, but they are. It's its own little side quest. So I think Ichiro was saying how he wants to do 18 seasons on Netflix. Good luck. I love it. Go for it.
I think it was approved for 12.
Yeah. So I'm hoping if we get a solid, this is dream scenario, we get them out yearly, every year and a half, depending on writer strikes and, if the world works well.
Brutal, man. Potential government shutdowns.
Right, yeah. But depending if the world allows us to be nerds. 6 seasons, I'd be happy, because you can tell a lot. I'd be happy. That's just like purest. Could even drag on for 6 seasons. So I'll say 6 seasons in a movie.
I like that. One thing because I know we're starting to kind of close out. One thing I was going to say is there's a lot of characters who just kind of show up and just absolutely crush it. Like for even just little scenes. Like I was thinking of Mihawk. He's the guy who's got kind of like the cross, and he looks like an undead pirate, and he's got the huge sword. He's the greatest swordsman. Okay. Like that actor just crushed it. He just showed up for like a little bit, and he woke me from my nap. Just like absolutely ate, like absolutely crushed it. Or he had a cool line like, "I like you. You deserve to die by my big sword." He said something like, I don't know. He has a name for his sword. Every cool character should have a name for their sword. But I liked how he just showed up and absolutely crushed it. Same with Chef Zeph. The chef. Every scene he was in, there's a lot of jokes about like characters who have big appetites. So I liked him. I don't know. These guys were just like, we kind of went back to perfect castings. Like these were just incredible actors who just absolutely crushed the scenes they were in. You know what I mean?
Rarely have we not, or have we been like, that cast was, you could not do better than that. On something that's already existed, right? Not something from scratch, not like, oh, he's Bruce Wayne. We all know what Bruce Wayne kind of is. I'm saying something that you, out of nowhere, the number one, and this is from the nerd spectrum that I've been reading and seeing, and we agreed right off the bat. I'm like, this cast is just great.
Yeah, even Axehand Morgan, like I was just having to look up his name, like crushed every scene he was in.
He's scary, dude.
Yeah, and he was only in 2 episodes, and he wasn't, I don't know, like they feel like main characters, like they each steal the show. They're handing it off. Like Buggy when he popped in, I'm like, he's stealing the show. Axehand when he popped in, and one person we haven't talked about because I don't want to give away spoilers on him. But he plays, I'm just looking it up real quick. I'm sorry. He plays like the main Garp. He plays Garp. So he's like the main Marine who's after Luffy.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely crushed it. Like, and he's been in a bunch of stuff. He was in like Troy.
Yeah. He's the most recognizable face to a generic audience, right?
Yeah, he was in the 300. Like he's been in a lot of projects that people would recognize him from. He's in Clash of the Titans. Like I've seen him around, and I definitely recognize him.
I knew right off the bat. I'm like, I recognized you. I just knew Zoro from my friend who just worships South Korean stuff, like soap operas and all that stuff. So I knew who he was because she told me about him.
Got it. Yeah, this guy was for sure the most recognizable of all the actors because he's just been in a million things. Like he was in Snow White and the Huntsman, Camelot. Like he's just been around. Clash of the Titans, like I mentioned. But I really enjoyed his character a lot. Like he felt like the main character oftentimes, and you weren't sure if he was good or bad or what. And I just enjoyed it. I was there for it,
That's perfect because I was just gonna say the one awesome thing about this show is moral ambiguity, right? There's Marines that are evil and there's pirates that are good, but there's bad pirates and good Marines. So you just never know where the person lies.
And there's a grayscale in that too, because you'll have characters who are evil, but then do really good things, like pirates who
they just want money. They don't want to kill you. Like, hey, I just want the booty, if you will.
Or pirates who are willing to sacrifice their life for the life of a child, or things like that. You know what I mean? Like
they have a moral code.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe some of those pirates are still bad people, like they've been plundering and stuff. So it is fun. Like there's not just good and bad in these characters, which is I really like that. I want characters who are on a scale.
A scale to good and nerdy.
Yeah, exactly. On a spectrum. Dude, Johnny, I'm out of notes.
No, that's perfect. This is we we are beyond stoked for the show. Cannot wait till season 2 drops in 2028. Who knows? But Knights, what do you think? Comment below. Tell us. Message us. What do you like? What you didn't like? Do you not agree that Zoro's the best fighter of all time? Let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts and where you see the show going.
Hold on. I actually did have one other thought. I really liked Kobe. Kobe Beef. He was such a little sneak. He's got the pink hair, and he kept like listening at doors. Like
that to me sounds like a D&D character you would play.
I know, right? Like that's what I thought. Like I really liked it. I just realized we didn't even talk about him. So I enjoyed Kobe too. That was a good, like, I don't know, just again, it goes back to characters who are just kind of ambiguous. Like his dream was to be a Marine, and I love the idea of like these are characters. The ultimate thing is they want to follow their dream. So Zoro wants to be the greatest swordsman. Kobe always wanted to be a Marine and protect people. Luffy, wants to be the pirate, the One Piece. So we didn't talk about him, and then we didn't talk about Nami really either, and she crushed it. 10 out of 10.
Nami's awesome.
Dude, Nami was so good.
Her story arc, I don't know how we forgot about it. I was just so in love with other people, I guess. Her story arc of her being selfish, but for a good reason, for her family, but abandoned her friends at the beginning.
Selflessly selfish.
Selfishly selfish, yeah. Because at the end of the day, you knew she was going to bond with them later. But it's true, though. Like, if you just meet random people, but your goal was to help someone else, you're not just going to abandon that goal. It's not like a video game when you're like, I must save my kid. Here's a side quest. All right, let me go to the side quest real quick. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Like, her goal was, hey, I got to free these shark people from my village to protect my family. I don't care about you people that I just met hours ago.
Spoils, Johnny.
That's not
if they made it this far, they'd...
You're the spoil police. I already spoiled it by saying Nami's a blonde in real life. That was a big spoil.
The hair colors were fun, and I love how like main characters have different hair colors, and then when you look at like all the background actors, it's like black hair, brown hair, and that's it. Like
only whimsical pirates are around, not citizen folk.
Yeah, exactly. Shanks, sure, like he's about it. Yeah, so it was just kind of funny. Yeah, exactly, and he was assigned by a main character, but any background characters, nope. I don't know, that was funny. Knights, who is your favorite character? What did we miss? Let us know in the comments below.
And yell at us about Nami, because she really is one of the top characters.
The bee's knees, the cat's pajamas. Let us know in the comments below, and we will catch you on the flippity flop.
Flippity flip.